Hello, folks. Welcome back to my channel. This is the World of TV Shows, and today I have another episode review for you of Medium. And we're going to be looking at the very 8th episode of the second season called Too Close to Call. The episode originally aired on November 14th, 2005 on NBC. It was directed by Steven Robman and written by Renee Echeverria. So what is this episode about? Wow, there's a lot to unpack here, but let me try to, make it make sense at the best of my ability, as best as I can. So basically, in this episode, emotions are running high as there is some re-election campaign happening, and Allison's boss, the district attorney, D.A. DeValos, is running against somebody named Barkley, if I'm not mistaken. I will check this out just to make sure. Nathan Bradley, right? So basically, yes, it's pretty, it's a pretty interesting time, I guess you could say. And even I thought it was pretty cute that Allison's daughters are kind of participating a little bit. They're trying to kind of do some kind of filing work, at home, with the envelopes and all of that. So I thought that this was pretty nice, to have that kind of whole family, you know, teamwork, right? Team spirit. And there's also going to be some kind of a poster that is going to be put in, the girls' room, Ariel's and Bridget's. And, since it's Bridget has half the room, she's going to decide to hang in this poster on the wall, which kind of creeps out Ariel, the elder sister. But this is pretty much how it goes. And Allison has some pretty strange dream at the beginning as this re-election campaign is taking place. She's going to this booth, in order to, with the curtains, in order to cast in her vote, right? To choose, and then some pretty strange thing happens. I don't want to spoil or give too much away, but yes, there's something involving blood, which makes Allison a little bit tense, right? But this is pretty much it for the main, plot. Meanwhile, also Allison is gonna have some kind of a dream, or I guess where she's gonna see that her boss, the district attorney, his career might be compromised by, a crime that is gonna take place, and the accused is, some criminal, small-time criminal who committed a crime 3 years prior to that in 2002. This is 2005, so in 2002, that he committed a crime, and his name is Clyde Morton, if I'm not mistaken. And basically, DeValos refused to prosecute and instead decided to show some leniency. And apparently, this person is going to commit a crime very soon, and this would basically be exactly, the kind of, nail that his opponent is going to use to put in his coffin, to basically imply that the district attorney is unreliable since he couldn't, prevent this murder from taking place by letting the criminal go on a lesser charge a few years ago. So this could basically very be, his downfall. So Allison, with the help of her friend, Detective Lee Scanlon, are going to decide to, without, being allowed to do some preemptive kind of, not an arrest, but more like just asking a few questions. So they're gonna go to Clyde's house, where they're gonna meet his mother, and they're gonna try to basically, get to speak to him, in order to kind of try to understand, kind of try to stop this. But of course, the district attorney did not give his consent, and they kind of go behind his back to do that. And then something happens, something big, but I don't want to spoil too much for you or anything. But I didn't mention this also, but the dream that Allison has, she has a recurring dream in this episode where she sees a young woman home alone, and she's going to be killed, right? And this is this woman named Kathy, who they believe is going to be killed by, you know, this Clyde Morton, right? Who's African American, by the way. I didn't mention that because, he's the most likely suspect. So this is mostly it for the main plot. Meanwhile, Allison and Joe are going to go see a movie. They're going to go to the movies, to the theater, to see this Geisha movie from 2005. Most of you probably remember. It was a pretty big hit, so it is featured in this film, in this episode, sorry. And basically, as they do so, they're going to bump into one of Joe's old girlfriends from college. And basically, she's married now. She has a husband, right? And they're thinking about moving to Phoenix. And Allison sees something that kind of sets her back a bit. She's kind of an intimate moment between her and Joe. And, she starts to have some opinion about that as well, right? So she's they kind of gonna get in, they are gonna get into a fight, sorry about that, and over it, and something is gonna happen, and it seems that, Karen, that's her name, might, want to meet with Joe to discuss some possible job opportunity, right? And something is going to happen in that regard as well, which I don't want to spoil too much or anything for you folks. So this is pretty much it for Too Close to Call. What are my thoughts? What are my thoughts on it? What is my opinion about this? All right, so this is definitely one of my favorite episodes of the season, of the show in general. Excuse me. Yes, especially this season, it was so good, especially with the whole re-election campaign and this kind of murder that is going to take place, and Allison is trying to stop it, but something, pretty big is going to happen. Something pretty traumatic happens in this episode. I didn't mention it, but I'll let you find out for yourselves before I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, it's going to be pretty big. And also the side story with Allison's, her husband Joe, and his past life that are kind of gonna be out in the open, so to speak. It's gonna be kind of their front row center, for her to see. I thought that this was pretty interesting. That we learn a little bit about Joe's past, even though Allison is not gonna take that. She's not gonna take too kindly to that, to say the least. But I thought that this was pretty good, and especially the whole kind of night on the town, Allison and her husband Joe spending some time together with the kids. It's not something you get to see all the time, but it's good to kind of, have some, you know, personal time with one's, wife. That was pretty good in this episode. You get to see them close, but then obviously something happens, in this regard because of one of Joe's old, girlfriends, old flames, and and this is exactly what kind of, sets, the match is, so to speak. Kind of sets them up for another fight. So I thought that is pretty funny too. Anyhow, so let's move on to the actors, perhaps before wrapping this up. So we have the main ones: Patricia Arquette, Miguel Sandoval, David Cubitt, Sophia Vassiliva, Maria Lark, Jake Weber. Then we have Brian Kerwin, who plays Nathan Bradley, who is DeValos's opponent. He's running against in the campaign. Perry Reeves, who plays Karen Hersfeld, who is pretty good, who is Joe's old girlfriend. Then we have Walker Howard, who plays Clyde Morton, the suspect, which is pretty good. Clyde Morton's mother is played by Mona Michael. Then we have Annabelle Milne, who plays Kathy Crusher, who is this young woman who is thought that, the clock is ticking on her life as she's about to die, and in this gruesome murder. There Kendall King, who plays DeValos's assistant son, Sandra, I believe. Jeff Campbell plays Steve Hersfeld, who is the husband of Karen's husband. Then we have Kyle Bornheimer, who plays the waiter, I believe, in some scene near the end, perhaps when Joe is meeting with Karen. If I'm not mistaken, I don't recall exactly. I apologize for this. Then we have Ted Atkinson, who plays the janitor in the beginning, Madison Curbelo, Miranda Curbelo. Both of them, who are twin sisters, play Marie, Allison's youngest daughter. And last but not least, Robert Clotworthy plays Bradley campaign ad, and I can't see the rest. But yeah, those are pretty much the main, actors. But my favorite ones definitely are Brian Kerwin, Perry Reeves, as well as Walker Howard, Mona Michael, and Annabelle Milne. Those are my favorite actors in this episode. Also, I didn't mention this, but at some point, DeValos gets a little bit angry with Allison because of something that happens. And I thought that this kind of, it was a little bit hard to watch because the two of them have always been so close and usually really get along. But after something that happens, things change. And Allison is going to be really saddened by the whole situation, which I won't spoil. I'll let you find out for yourselves. But it's definitely one of the most, I guess, one of the most important episodes of the season because of this campaign and election and all. So really, really good episode for what it was. Really enjoyed it up until the very end. So if I were to rate this episode on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd definitely give it a solid 9 out of 10. Possibly, 9 out of 10 sounds to, fit the bill, or even maybe a little bit more. I think 9 out of 10 ought to do it. I don't want to change my rating just too much or anything. I don't want to confuse anybody. But 9 out of 10 for me for this episode. Really, really enjoyed it. So this was too close to call. What about you folks? What did you think about this episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comment section down below. And also, I didn't mention it, but I'll do so very quickly. The final twist near the end is pretty good, and I really enjoyed it. So 9 out of 10 for me for this episode. All right, folks, thank you for watching. Let me know about what you thought. In the meantime, stay safe, goodbye, and take care. This is the World of TV Show signing off.